Scorpio, something inside you has already sensed it. That unsettling presence. That stirring energy. That feeling that someone close to you has been pretending not to care, not to feel, not to notice, but their soul is on fire, and the mask they've worn for too long is beginning to crack. The truth they tried to bury is about to rise. Not in whispers, but in a force so undeniable, it could change everything you thought you knew. And you, dear one, are not just witnessing this moment. You are part of it. Chosen to feel it first. Destined to see it clearly. This isn't just a reading. It's a divine alignment. A sacred conversation between your soul and the cosmos. And if you've arrived at this video today, it's because Spirit has drawn you here with purpose. There is no such thing as coincidence in this moment. This is divine timing, and the message you're about to receive isn't just information, it's activation. Because yes, Scorpio, someone is pretending. But not for long. Their silence has grown too loud. Their denial is crumbling under the weight of truth. And you, the intuitive soul that you are, have already picked up the signals in your body, your dreams, your energy field. God sees all. And He has not forgotten you. In the middle of your questions, your waiting, your aching hope, He was moving. Behind the scenes. Preparing. Breaking down what wasn't real so the real thing can rise. That is what this moment is. Not destruction. But release. Revelation. Divine justice. This is your confirmation that what you've been feeling is real. So I ask you now to pause. Take a breath. Make space in your spirit. This is your moment to receive not just a message, but a shift. Because when the truth explodes, it doesn't just change circumstances. It resets destinies. It breaks cycles. And it frees you to live from your deepest truth. I want to take a moment to thank you for being here. Your presence isn't just seen, it's sacred. Every like, every comment, every share and subscription brings you deeper into this healing family we've built together here at Miracle of the Sign. Your support makes it possible for us to keep delivering these soul awakening messages, and I'm truly, deeply grateful for you. And Scorpio, I want you to stay with me until the very end of this message, because what the universe is revealing right now is not just profound, it's spectacular. There's a reason you were drawn here, and I believe that before this video ends, something inside of you will click, awaken, shift. So now, let me ask you something real. Have you been sensing the tension around you, like something big is about to break open? Have you felt someone watching you silently, carrying feelings they haven't yet dared to express? If this is resonating in your soul, I want you to affirm it in the comments right now. Right, I am ready to receive the truth that sets me free. Because once you declare it, the shift begins. And once the truth comes out, it will never return to silence again. Let's begin. Scorpio, you've always carried a gift, though at times, it has felt more like a burden. The ability to sense what others try to conceal. To feel the tremble in someone's voice even when they're smiling. To read between the lines when nothing is being said aloud. This is not imagination. This is energy. And right now, your intuitive radar is vibrating for a reason. Someone near you is unraveling. The mask they've worn so carefully is beginning to crack, not because they want it to, but because they can no longer bear the weight of silence. What's happening here is not a coincidence, nor is it drama. It is a moment of divine orchestration. And in the language of the tarot, this energy is represented by the tower not as a punishment, but as a sacred collapse. The tower is often misunderstood. People fear it because it's loud, sudden, undeniable. But in truth, it is one of the most freeing cards in the deck. It represents the collapse of illusion, the falling away of falsehood, the clearing of structures that were built on shaky foundations. And Scorpio, if you've been feeling like the emotional climate around you is becoming unstable, tension rising, words left unsaid, long glances filled with unspoken weight, then you are already standing at the base of that tower. You are sensing the shift before it happens. Because you were meant to. Let's take this one step deeper. When someone pretends for too long, pretends they don't care, that they're over it, that they're finite, creates pressure in the emotional field. That pressure has to go somewhere. And you, Scorpio, with your energy so precise, so piercing, become the mirror that forces others to confront themselves. This isn't because you try to expose envy, it's simply because your presence demands honesty. And right now, your presence is triggering someone's hidden truth to surface. They may not be saying anything yet, but their energy is already speaking louder than words. You've likely felt it in a look that lingers too long, a strange message, a sudden shift in their behavior. Pay attention. These are the early tremors of emotional release. We live in a world that often rewards detachment and labels vulnerability as weakness. But that's not how transformation works. And you, Scorpio, are ruled by the energy of transformation. Death and rebirth. Darkness into light. The tower comes not to punish, but to liberate. In the same way that Scripture reminds us in 2 Corinthians 4 verse 6, for God, who said, "Let light shine out of darkness," made His light shine in our hearts. This moment of emotional collapse is an invitation into light. Not just for them, but for you as well. Sometimes, when someone else's truth erupts, it also frees us from confusion, uncertainty, and emotional limbo. This is why your presence is so crucial right now. Not to react with fear, but to observe with wisdom. To witness without absorbing. And most importantly, to remain grounded in your own power. You are not here to save them, fix them, or even decide for them. You are simply here to see clearly, and that is a gift. The act of seeing the truth when it arrives, without judgment, is a holy act. It allows both souls to begin again, whether separately or together, but always more free than before. So I invite you to reflect. Who is the person whose energy you've been picking up on? Who has been watching you from afar, hoping you don't notice, while simultaneously hoping you do? Their emotions are building like water behind a dam. And the tower tells us, that dam is ready to break. When it does, the flood will be loud, messy, and undeniable, but also healing. Sometimes, the only way the soul can breathe is by finally letting go of the mask. And Scorpio, you were born to witness that moment. Because truth, no matter how raw, is the first step toward redemption. Sometimes, what feels like a sudden collapse is really an opening, one that you never saw coming, but that your soul has been calling for all along. Scorpio, the shocking blow we're speaking about in this part of your journey isn't meant to destroy you. It's meant to deliver you. And although it may arrive in the form of a person from the past, a confession you weren't expecting, or an event that shakes the foundation you were resting on, its true purpose is to clear what no longer aligns with your truth. This kind of moment is rarely gentle. But in astrology and energy work, we understand that when change is divinely timed, it often moves like lightning, fast, bright, and impossible to ignore. That's what the Tower teaches us, not to fear the breaking, but to trust in what comes after. It's the ultimate spiritual release. A sacred interruption. A dismantling of what was false so that what is real can finally take root. Scorpio, you of all signs know what it means to evolve through endings. You are ruled by Pluto, the planet of transformation, death, and rebirth. You are the sign that knows how to descend into the shadows, confront the pain, and rise again stronger, wiser, and more aligned than ever. And so, when life delivers a moment that feels like it's knocking the wind out of you, it's not because you're weak or lost. It's because your path requires a deeper honesty than most are willing to face. But you are not most people. You were born to feel it all. And because of that, you were born to transcend it. The truth is, many people wait for the storm to pass before they begin again. But what if the storm is the beginning? What if the storm is sacred? What if it's not the enemy, but the ally that breaks the chains you didn't even realize you were still wearing? In my work as a guide, I've seen over and over how the most transformative breakthroughs come disguised as heartbreak, upheaval, or endings. But once we stop resisting and start receiving, something miraculous happens. We find clarity. We find space. We find ourselves finally, outside the noise of illusion. That's why this phase of your journey isn't a setback. It's a realignment. It's a return to your soul's blueprint. And when you allow the truth to reason, no matter how raw, it becomes a doorway, not a wall. It becomes the permission your spirit has been waiting for to finally exhale. It's not your job to hold everything together that was never meant to last. It's your job to hold space for yourself as it falls away, and to trust that what remains will be exactly what you need. Say this to yourself gently but firmly: I do not fear the truth. I do not run from the crumbling. I am not being punished, I am being purified. Because when false structures fall, light finds its way in. And where light enters, healing begins. You are not alone in this, even if it feels that way. Countless others are being initiated in the same fire. And if you allow this shocking blow to cleanse instead of crush, to liberate instead of shame, you will find yourself standing in a clarity that no longer bends for illusion. You will stop waiting for permission to be free. You'll realize you already are. Let this be your turning point. Not because you were rescued, but because you finally realized you were always capable of walking through the storm and coming out whole. Scorpio, by the time we arrive at this part of the journey, something in you has already awakened. You felt the energy rising, the tension building, the subtle yet persistent pull towards something greater than the ordinary patterns of your day. Now, it's time to understand why. This isn't just about what's happening around you. This is about what's being orchestrated through you, with precise timing and deeper purpose. The universe speaks in many languages: symbols, patterns, intuition, and among the most powerful are numbers and color. When decoded with intention, they become more than signs. They become answers. The number 7 appears when illusions are being stripped away. It is the sacred reminder that truth is not always pretty, but it is always liberating. If you've been seeing this number, it's because something false is ending a story you've outgrown, a connection that no longer serves your soul's growth, or even a belief about yourself that no longer aligns with your future. In astrology, the number 7 aligns with spiritual refinement. It clears the fog, not to confuse you, but to lead you inward to the voice of knowing that lives beyond logic. Then comes 8, often misunderstood as simply the money number, but energetically, it's the balance point of karma. The figure 8 folds back on itself, reminding us that every action returns. In your life now, 8 brings an energy of correction. Not punishment, correction. An alignment of what was given and what is due. If something has felt off or unfair, this number is your confirmation that justice, not in the legal sense, but in the energetic sense, is underway. What you've sown in silence will be harvested in light. 13 is the soul number of Scorpio, the death card in the tarot, which is never about physical death, but symbolic transformation. To fear 13 is to fear your own power. When 13 shows up, it means your former self is shedding, and the version of you who rises next will carry deeper wisdom, sharper discernment, and a quiet authority that no one can take away. In numerology, 13 is not cursed, it's chosen. It calls the brave to cross thresholds others fear to touch. Now imagine the digital clock flickering 11:11 when you're not even thinking about it. That's no accident. It's a gateway. In energy work, 11:11 is considered a Port Allen invitation to pause and align. It's the soul's nudge that your thoughts are manifesting faster than usual, and that you must be intentional with every belief you carry. What are you telling yourself right now? Because whatever it is, you are becoming it. And then, there's 222. It's softer, quieter, but just as powerful. It speaks not with urgency but with assurance. Keep going. Don't let chaos convince you that the universe forgot. This number is about holding faith not when everything is clear, but when nothing is. It teaches you that peace is not the absence of noise, but the ability to remain anchored inside of it. These numbers are not random. They're coded breadcrumbs, divine patterns hidden in plain sight. When you begin to notice them, write them down. Track them. Sit with them. Journal what you were feeling when they appeared. These are conversation points between your soul and your destiny. Colors, too, carry vibration. Black is not dark, it's depth. It's the color of sacred authority, of choosing when to speak and when to observe. Deep purple connects you to your higher self, calling in wisdom beyond your years. Silver heals, binding the loose ends of stories you thought were finished. And red, bold, fearless red is your reminder to act. Not impulsively, but confidently, from your center of truth. These aren't aesthetics. They're frequencies. Wear them with intention. Let them speak for you when words are not enough. Your aura responds to what you wear, and the world responds to your aura. If one of these numbers has been repeating for you lately, drop it in the comments. That simple act of acknowledgement could open the exact door you've been waiting for. Because when you start speaking the language of energy, energy starts answering back. And Scorpio, right, know it is. Love, for someone like you, Scorpio, is never simple. It's deep, magnetic, karmic, woven with threads you often can't explain but feel pulsing in your chest. By the time you reach this part of your journey, everything in your emotional landscape has already begun to shift. The illusions are falling away. The truth is surfacing. And now, you find yourself standing between two energies, one that quietly watches you from the present, and another that returns from the past with a truth they couldn't speak before. But this is not a test of loyalty or logic. It's a sacred invitation to choose not from fear, but from self-alignment. Astrologically, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto and Mars, two forces that shape transformation and raw desire. That's why love, for you, is never casual. It demands intensity, honesty, and soul-level fusion. And yet, that very intensity can also lead you to hold on to relationships longer than they serve you, clinging to emotional ghosts out of loyalty or unfinished attachment. This is why discernment is now your greatest tool. Not to decide who is more sincere, but to determine who truly aligns with the version of you that is being reborn. We often think love is about who can show up louder, who can prove themselves more. But in energetic truth, love flows where it is matched, where it can expand without shape-shifting. You don't need to chase connection when you're grounded in your own field. According to the law of attraction, the more aligned you become with your wholeness, the more effortlessly love meets you there. Not through control, but through resonance. That's why this isn't about chasing or choosing between right or wrong. This is about noticing which connection reflects your evolution. Which one honors your growth? Which one sees your truth and doesn't ask you to dim it? The person from the past may come bearing remorse and clarity, but does their presence energize your soul or reopen wounds that you fought so hard to close? The new energy may feel quiet or undefined, but is there a calmness in their gaze that lets you breathe without fear? These are not just romantic questions, theories, spiritual. They're invitations to listen to your body's response rather than your mind's assumptions. Because sometimes, the heart isn't confused, it's just afraid to choose what feels unfamiliar. And so it gravitates toward the past, because pain feels safer than the unknown. But Scorpio, you were never meant to repeat old cycles. You were meant to rise from them. Again and again. Now is the moment to be still enough to listen inward. Ask yourself, am I choosing because I'm lonely or because I'm ready to share something real? Am I reaching out because I long to be seen, or because I want to truly see someone else? When your answer comes not from desperation but from grounded clarity, that's when you'll know. The beauty of this season is that you don't need to prove your worth to be chosen. You are the magnetic force. You are the mirror. And the right soul will not only recognize that, they will meet it without hesitation, without games, without fear. Let love be drawn to your wholeness, not your wounds. Let connection bloom from presence, not pressure. The heart is not a battlefield to be won. It is a temple to be honored. And as you step deeper into your next chapter, remember this: you don't need love that demands more sacrifice. You need love that mirrors your healing, that honors your becoming, that walks with you, not behind you, not ahead of you but beside you, step for step, into everything sacred that comes next. When everything around you feels like it's shifting, the only true anchor you'll ever have is the energy you cultivate within. After all that has been revealed through the breaking of illusions, the clarity of emotions, the realignment of love, this next phase is where integration begins. Healing isn't a passive state, it's a conscious practice. It's what happens when you take what the universe has shown you and choose to respond with love, compassion, and grounded clarity. And for you, Scorpio, whose emotional depth runs like an underground ocean, healing must begin with acknowledging your own power. Start by meeting yourself in the mirror of your experience. Not with judgment, but with presence. One of the simplest but most powerful exercises is to write down 3 things, no matter how big or small, that you're ready to forgive. Maybe it's someone who misunderstood you. Maybe it's a moment where you stayed silent when you wished you'd spoken up. Or maybe it's simply the version of you who didn't know better. Forgiveness is not approval of the past, it's permission for your soul to move forward freely. Then, shift your gaze to the part of you that survived. That kept going when everything felt heavy. That made choices that protected your peace even when no one saw or celebrated it. Write down 3 things you're genuinely grateful to yourself for overcoming. This is how self-worth is built, not through achievements others applaud, but through inner moments of quiet resilience. This is also the time to return to your body and nervous system. Energy medicine and astrology both agree, the body carries what the mind resists. If anxiety has been lingering in your chest or restlessness has crept into your sleep, honor that signal. One gentle shift that makes a big impact is to cut back on caffeine and sugar after 6 p.m. These subtle stimulants can spike your cortisol levels, keeping your body in a state of alert long after the day has ended. By softening your internal rhythms, you allow space for deeper rest, and in that rest, healing truly begins. Each morning, take 5 minutes before checking your phone or diving into the demands of life. Sit quietly, place one hand over your heart, and breathe. Repeat this affirmation: I am protected. I am worthy. I am whole. This isn't just poetics, it's neurological. When spoken with intention, affirmations regulate your energy field and rewire your belief systems over time. Your heart becomes your compass again. As for your work and finances, know this: change is in motion. And not every new direction will feel comfortable at first. But just because something feels unfamiliar doesn't mean it's unsafe. This is a critical time to become crystal clear on your values. What matters to you at your core? Is it freedom? Purpose? Integrity? Creativity? Write those values down. Let them become your map. Because when you anchor your professional choices to your inner truth, the path that opens may surprise you in all the best ways. You don't have to rush. You just have to remain awake. Healing is not linear. Growth doesn't always feel graceful. But if you are willing to show up each day with a little more compassion, a little more awareness, and a little more faith in your own journey, the universe will continue to meet you exactly where you are. And in that space, quiet, centered, and sovereign, your life begins to reflect not just what you want, but who you truly are. Scorpio, if you've made it this far, I want you to pause for a moment and take a breath, not just to reflect, but to receive. Because none of this was random. Not your presence here, not the timing of this message, and certainly not the stirrings you've been feeling in your spirit. Everything that has unfolded in this reading was meant for you, not because you are perfect, but because you are ready. Ready to see, ready to release, and ready to rise. You were never meant to remain in the shadows of your old story. You were meant to walk through it, to gather the wisdom, and to return to the world with light in your eyes and power in your hands. They may pretend. They may delay. But truth cannot be silenced forever. And you, dear Scorpio, the sign of death and rebirth, are not just witnessing the shift. You are the catalyst of it. Whether it's a relationship resurfacing, an emotion breaking through, or an unexpected decision waiting to be made, You're not here to repeat cycles. You're here to awaken new ones. And here's the most liberating truth of all. You cannot control how others show up, but you are always free to choose how you respond. That is your sovereignty. That is your sacred power. You are not just reacting to life anymore, you are responding from alignment. You are not waiting to be saved, you are choosing to be seen, first by yourself, and then by those who truly deserve to walk with you. So I ask you now, not just as a guide but as someone who believes in the divine order of your becoming, what are you ready to leave behind? What version of you are you ready to step into? Which truth, though uncomfortable, are you willing to face, knowing it might be the very key that unlocks your next chapter? Take a moment. Then speak it out. Drop into the comments one of the sacred numbers that has followed you lately. 7, 8, 13, 222, 11:11, whichever one holds resonance in your soul. Let that be your affirmation. Let that be your signal to the universe that you are awake, aware, and willing. And if this message stirred something within you, whether it affirmed what you've been sensing, or it gave language to something you couldn't quite explain, please take a moment to like this video. That one click doesn't just support the channel, it activates the frequency of light we're building here together. Share it with someone who needs healing. Someone you know is silently carrying too much and hasn't found the words yet. And if you haven't already, subscribe to Miracle of the Sign so you don't miss the next soul-aligned message waiting for you. I want to thank you genuinely and deeply for letting me be a part of your journey today. Every view, every comment, every act of support brings this space closer to its purpose, to help people return to themselves with clarity and courage. My prayer for you is simple: may you no longer fear the unexpected blow. May you see it as the disguised gift it truly is. Because when the tower falls, it does not leave you in ruins, it clears the ground for resurrection. And Scorpio, resurrection has always been your sacred right.